You saw the Queen at close quarters, but I guess when you were with her, guiding her on public events, these must have been quite tense moments.
Remarkably, when I look back on my time as an equerry, not so tense when you were part of what we used to describe as the home team. It was like the home team and the away team. Right. And the team around the Queen, not just the equerries, but the ladies in waiting. You know, our job was to basically try and make things to go as smoothly as possible, whether people were visiting or dignitaries were coming in or the Queen was on visits. And, you know, I wouldn't say tense, Nigel, I'd just say you knew the stakes were high on some of these. They were very high-profile events. I mean, I was 26 years old. I can't imagine now doing something like that at 26. I was the youngest equerry, captain in the Coldstream Guards. And one was constantly conscious that, you know, we had people like President Jiang Zemin of China coming in on, I don't remember that first state visit of a Chinese head of state. You know, that was quite controversial, potentially, because of the Tibet issues. There was a lot of focus on it. We had, you know, but we went about it, and I think it, you know, the visit itself was a success and ran smoothly. But it was the one person I would say who was never gave across any kind of tension was the Queen herself.
So I mean, clearly she was remarkably calm under pressure.
Yeah, she was calm under pressure. I've been thinking about it a lot this week, and I just think she was the most consistent person that I've ever dealt with. And I think you're hearing that from a lot of people that worked with her and knew her, and just was never overreacted if something went wrong. However, she had such a great sense of humour, and I think...
And you saw that as well.
I think one of the things that used to tickle her was when, you know, nothing major, but when some things didn't go quite as smoothly as they could have done. And I remember one episode, I think quite soon after starting, where we used to take in the dignitaries through the big double doors into one of the rooms at Buckingham Palace, and we'd sort of, you know, chat to the visitor first. And there was, I don't know who he was, I think he was a diplomat, he was quite a large man. And as the double doors opened, I realised, you know, despite the fact it was quite a big door, there wasn't a lot of room for the three of us actually to get through the door. And as I took a step forward, he sort of barged me into the side of the door, and there was a terrible clanging of sword scabbards, and I slipped, and I just looked forward, and the Queen was standing there on her own with her hands together, and she just had a twinkle in the eye. And of course, the first thing that she mentioned afterwards was, you know, that wasn't very good, was it, Tom? but so she always laughed. Did you want the sort of earth
to open up, or was it done in such a way that it didn't really hurt?
Never. No, you always felt that, you know, it was fine, mistakes would happen, and no, she was just brilliant to work for.
I suppose when you're doing hundreds of engagements every year, if everything goes to clockwork, it's quite boring, really, isn't it? So I suppose the odd little thing going wrong here and there. Yeah. And as someone that knew her as you did, and the family, were you shocked last Thursday when you heard the news?
Really very sad, obviously, and I think, you know, everybody shares that, but really shocked. And you think that's quite a surprising reaction to, you know, the death of somebody that's had such a good long life, 96 years old. But I think a part of us always thought she was going to go on forever.
Yes. I've been making this point for the last couple of days. You know, it's completely irrational and illogical, and we knew for the last 6 months things weren't quite right. Yeah. You know, we kept hearing mobility issues, but I think we all suspected perhaps a little bit more. That photograph of her with Liz Truss, it seemed there was a big change even from the Jubilee to that moment. Yeah. And yet I'm the same as you. We were shocked. Yeah. We thought she was immortal, didn't we?
Exactly. And I think the fact that we just assumed that she would continue to work to represent us. You know, I mean, when I worked with the Queen, she was in her 70s, but her workload was the same, you know, from her early reign. So she was always doing the red box. She was always doing the papers. You know, at times when we were at Balmoral or whatever, I think we were enjoying it more than her. You know, she was the one working the non-stop, and, you know, it doesn't surprise me she kept going right to the end, but it makes me incredibly proud of
yes, I mean, you know, there you are, saying goodbye to one Prime Minister, inviting another one in, and within 48 hours you're gone. I mean, that is remarkable. So but it hasn't just affected those that know her. Here's the funny thing about it, Tom, that I've seen, is the number of people saying they hadn't realised how much this would affect them.
Yeah,
Until it happened.
it's remarkable, isn't it? I knew that it would hit the country like a ton of bricks. I always felt it would. But listening to people who, for some reason now, feel she's more relevant to their lives than maybe, when she was working, they...
I wonder whether the pandemic had something to do with it. The fact she addressed the nation. The fact that even though she did fewer engagements in the last few years, the engagements she did were very big ones, very public ones, addressing the nation, the Jubilee. She's been very high in our consciousness, hasn't she, for the last couple of years?
And I think perhaps, as you say, more so than at other times in her reign.
Yes.
And anyway, I mean, all I can say is that, when she stood up to do those things, it was very much the Queen that I'd worked with and seen in action, whether it was just in an audience with one person, making them feel relaxed and doing that work. She really was. She was just a remarkable human being.